Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing day 13 of Spooktober. I really wish it was Friday so that it would be Friday the 13th, but oh well. I guess we will settle with Friday the 14th. But today we are going to discuss more of a horror comedy featuring vampires. This movie is absolutely lovely. I completely blind bought this. Nobody knew about this when it came out. It intrigued me, and I loved the slipcover for it. And this is the film from 2014, directed by Ona Tukul, who is a Turkish man living in New York City. And he made this very amazing film, Summer of Blood. This movie is absolutely amazing. It is very comedic. It's all about a pretty pathetic man who just talks too much. And so when he's at dinner with his girlfriend of a couple years, she proposes to him. And he just completely is non committal. He refuses to sort of grow up. He talks about how he's 40 years old and still doesn't really want to settle down. But he's just really creepy. And so, of course, he talks his way out of it. She breaks up with him. And as he's walking home from the date, or I guess the dinner, he is bitten by a vampire. And he becomes a vampire. And we see him slowly evolve as a character from somebody who just talks too much, who is a little bit toxic, who isn't anybody who really many women would want to be around at all. And he eventually starts becoming a little better. He becomes less toxic. And oh my gosh, this entire movie is lovely. This movie is not horrifying at all. This is definitely a comedy. I really enjoyed this. It is just very bizarre too. This entire movie is basically him going around New York City. New York City is a character in this movie for sure. There's a great essay on this release written by not Kevin Bacon, Simon Bacon, where he talks about all about New York City being a character and many different vampire films. Talks about an Abel Ferrara movie called oh my gosh, Addiction, and there's also an essay written by the director himself for this release, talking about what kind of inspired him to make this movie, to have the character that he plays, because he plays the lead in this movie. And he also wrote the script and did the editing. So this movie is very much, as he called it, a reflection of, or an introspection into his life. Because he says that he's now about 50 years old as of the writing of this essay in 2022. And he talks about how he is not far off from the character that he is in the movie. He is somebody who looks himself in the mirror and kind of wonders, like, am I ever going to grow up? Will I ever find a woman who loves me and who I can start a family with? And he talks about all the different vampire tropes and the subtext of the vampire genre, which is homosexuality. The genre of vampirism is all about vampires not being able to be who they are. They have to go out into the night and the cover of darkness, and they. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said about the genre, but he also discusses how the vampire genre is full of gay subtext in the sense that when a vampire is bit, the victim lets out sort of an orgasmic breath breath of euphoria, and there's a very, very kind of in your face scene in this movie where the director purposely put it in as a nod to the genre, and how somebody is bit in the neck, and that he bites somebody in the neck, and he penetrates the jugular, and of course there's a lot of penetration within the vampire genre. That's supposed to be a what's it called? Oh my gosh, a metaphor, I guess, for a penis. And he penetrates somebody's jugular, and blood starts raining down. He sort of bends down in front of the male victim while the blood is splurting out, and he holds out his tongue to catch all of the blood. It's very unsubtle, and there's a lot of scenes like that in this movie, giving a lot of sort of gay subtext throughout this film as a, I guess, as an exploration of vampire films. And I just watched Nosferatu last night, and so this essay that he wrote for the release, he called it Nosferatu is gay, and I did not really have that in my thoughts. This is sort of a exploration of the vampire genre that I haven't done too deeply. I know of it, but it never really crosses my mind while I'm watching these movies. But I think this movie especially is really leading me to think about the vampire genre differently, because it is a whole lot more than somebody just biting people and infecting them with vampirism, but it's a whole lot more about the loneliness that vampires experience. And the director also talked about how he wanted his character to maybe be homosexual. We never really get an answer for that, because he multiple times just talks way too much and talks about how sort of disgusted he is with women. And many women in this movie just tell him straight up that he is disgusting. He puts them off. And his girlfriend that he wouldn't marry, she straight up tells him, anytime I want to be completely dry, I think of you. And he's very frustrated with women in general. And anytime he's with a male in this movie, he is just a totally different character. He comes out of his shell. He receives the vampire's kiss, as the director calls it, and from a man. And he just has a total look of euphoria after that. And for a while, he only targets men for his vampiric desires, I guess. And it's really until later in the movie that he kind of gets back and does a second date with all these different women that he wanted nothing to do with him. And they say how he's a lot better now. He's still kind of awful, but there's still a lot of different layers for him to work through, and a lot of issues to work through. And there's a pretty funny orgy scene where he has the 3 women in bed with him, and he's just objectifying them and being pretty toxic. And they just tell him, like, hey, like, you're being pretty misogynistic right now. And they kind of go back and forth on it. And finally he's like, fine, just objectify me. Just, punish me, whatever. And they're all vampires. So there's a little bit of a, I guess, subversion of expectations in that scene. But I really enjoyed this movie. It was really funny. Lots to think about, especially after reading the essays on this release. But yeah, I don't know if this is a movie that is rewatchable. It's definitely one I would love to show more people, and I am definitely a big supporter of these type of movies that bring kind kind of the conversation about these sort of topics in terms of homosexuality and queerness and vampire films and in horror films in general. So this was a really kind of pleasant watch. It felt like a warm blanket while watching this movie. I kept thinking that it was made quite recently, like maybe 2020 during COVID, but I should have noticed that there were no masks throughout the film. So I enjoyed it. I definitely recommend this one. I don't know if it's worth getting the slipcover for, but because the artwork for the standard is quite awesome. This movie was just a whole lot of fun. There are 2 commentary tracks on this. There's an interview with Lloyd Kaufman on this release, which I didn't watch. I didn't realize there was one, but I do remember now that that was one of the reasons why I got this movie. But Summer of Blood is just a really pleasant movie. I definitely recommend it to everybody. It's not necessarily a Spooktober watch, so maybe I'm kind of stretching the criteria quite a bit, but whatever. It's vampires. I had fun. It's a great movie. So thank you all so much for watching, and please stay spooky.